What's up, y'all? I'm back for another video. We are continuing down the years. We are now in 2006, and I gotta say, this was a pretty weak year for movies. That's why this list is not going to be that big. It's I was only really able to come up with 8. Um, but I felt like I found some good ones. Just I don't know. After the year that was like 2005, which you had like so much, this year just was. I remember like even at the time there really wasn't much. Like, yeah, there was the first Cars. I don't think that movie holds up, to be honest. The first Cars. I remember watching it a couple years ago and just like, eh. It was one of those Pixar movies I didn't really feel like held up. And then you had like absolute trash and dog shit like X-Men, 3, Superman Returns, that shitty Aragorn movie. Aragon, not Aragorn. Aragorn is Lord of the Rings. Aragon, the book based off the book. That movie was absolute. So yeah, there was a lot of shit in 2006. I just felt like it's kind of a weak year, but I was able to put together 8 films, and yeah, I think next year, 2007, hopefully will be a bit better because there was a bit more. And my number one is contentious because some cases it can be seen as a 2007 movie, and I guess it spoiled 300, but it was technically released in 2006, and I often see it listed in 2006 lists, so I'm just going to consider it. I went and decided to consider it a 2006 movie, even though someone argue technically it was a 2007 movie, but because I think it came out in the States in 2007, but I'm going to just say, because I see it a lot in 2006 lists, I'm just going to consider it a 2006 movie, so, but, yeah, so hopefully, like I said, next year will be a bit better. Because, yeah, 2006 is just kind of a weak one. So, tomorrow, we'll be doing X-Men Origins. I was going to do it Friday, but I figure it'd be better to do I kind of want to keep my Fridays free and shit. So, I'm going to just do the X-Men movies. I'm just going to move it to Tuesdays now since I don't really have much to do on Tuesdays since I'm done with Bond. So, tomorrow we'll do X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I know that's a contentious one. My thing with that movie is it has some good parts. I really like Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth. I think he's probably my favorite thing in the whole movie. The CGI, some of the action's okay, but the only thing I really hated was Baraka Pool. I didn't really necessarily hate everything else. Everything else wasn't too bad. It was just mainly that I didn't like. But yeah. But then Wednesday, I will be doing The Prowler, which is an old 80s slasher I found. Kind of continuing on a little bit of the horror stuff. On Thursday, I'll be doing The Nun 2. I'm hoping it's at least better than the first one because, my God, Nun was painful. I was just bored out of my mind. So hopefully Nun 2 is at least something happens. And then Friday, we'll be doing Nefarious. That's my favorite horror movie this year. I've been talking about it a lot, and I figure I should have reviewed it around when it came out, but I didn't. But I'll be doing it on Friday. That's the plan. I'll be reviewing it on Friday. And then I'll figure out what I'll be doing on the weekend. I might have a rant. I might rant on kind of go into why I don't really like Miles Morales. I've never really talked about it. Not like definitively. I've kind of like somewhat mentioned I don't like Miles in the Across the Spider-Verse review I did. But I kind of want to go more in detail. And also, because the news of what Insomniac's doing after their new Spider-Man game, I figured why not? It's kind of on my mind. So I might be talking about that at some point this weekend. I don't know what day yet. Either Saturday or Sunday. We'll see. But anyway, let's get into the list. But my number 8, hold on. My number 8 is Final Destination 3. I remember watching this the first time. That roller coaster sequence is still so like this movie. I really think did a good job of making people fear roller coasters, and and the characters were all right. It's not as strong as the first two. It definitely like three three through five are kind of the to me still watchable, but they're not necessarily as good as those first two. But I definitely like this one. I tend to watch this one when I do go through those movies, and I thought Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Wendy, I think it's her character's name. I think she's a decent enough character that you know um, was able to be able to be the lead. The dude was all right. The kills were great though. Like the football guy gets killed with the like the kills they didn't hold back on, and this was when the kills I still felt like were still semi realistic. Like the roller coaster sequence, the football guy, the way he got his head crushed was somewhat believable looking. Even Ian, who was the goth guy, got killed pretty. Like they didn't hold back on the kills, so that's why I like it. It has some issues. Like I said, it's not as strong as the first. Like this is the one where they really kind of got lazy with the way they connected it to the other movies. Like this one, they just kind of mentioned Flight 180 and the events from the second one, but they kind of gloss over it. I kind of wish it did that a little bit better, but overall, I like it. I definitely recommend it. It's three is good. I'm probably not gonna have four. Four is 2009, so that'll be when we get to my 2009 list. That's gonna be another year. That's probably gonna be kind of a weak year. That was another one. I felt like 2009, and I'll talk about it more when we get closer to it. It just wasn't much there, but yeah. So, um, but yeah, Final Destination 3 on my list. I enjoy it. I mean, decent enough characters. The end actually kind of dig the ending when everyone kind of died. Um, but yeah, that's my number 8. Now number 7 is Jet Li's Fearless. I probably should have this higher, but just because of the other movies I went with. But Jet Li's Fearless, this is one of my favorite. I remember watching this the first time when I was really young because this was that time, like I said, that early 2000s, man, when Jet Li was just everywhere. Even a little bit into the mid 2000s, like he was just in like every movie. And this movie was based off a real guy, and I'm just gonna say Jet Li because his actual name is like I'll bet I can't pronounce it. So it's based off a real dude who basically takes on who represents China and takes on because this is also during like the Qing Dynasty and um, basically learn about wushu a little bit. He also challenged fighters from foreign countries, and it's a good story. It's a great if you like movies that just like you learn about honor and all these good shit. This is a good one for that. I think Jet Li plays such a good character. Yeah, it's not in English. A lot of it's dubbed, but I can. It's fine. Well, probably in my opinion, one of Jet Li's best performances. The fight scenes are great. Do I a little bit more prefer like the one or when Jet Li's actually like kind of killing people and yeah, but this is a good story. I think the fights in are still really good. That final fight is really good. It is a sad ending. He dies basically. He wins his fight even though it was almost rigged, but he got poisoned and basically died. That's the ending, but it's a good one. It is a good movie. I think it is. Like I said, it's a sad ending. I'll admit I don't watch this one like all the fucking time, but I definitely do put it on. Um, I think it's well made. I think the cinematography is great. It's a good period piece too. Like you feel like you're in that time period of night because this was like 1910, like late early 1900s. Um, but yeah, this is one of my favorites. Like I said, that final fight is really good. I think Jet Li's choreography is really good. Probably in terms of acting, this might be his best movie. This or Hero are probably like in terms of if I'm going just straightforward acting, this definitely might have to be his best one. This was a good one. So that's my number 7. Number 7. My number 6 is The Hills Have Eyes remake. And My number 6 is The Hills Have Eyes remake. And I think this is a case. I've talked about this when I was reviewing these movies at the time. I think this is a case where I think the original's better than the remake's better than the original. I think I've said it, the original Hills Have Eyes to me doesn't hold up as a movie. I like Pluto's look as a character, and it had a good concept, but I feel like this movie executes it better. I think one, the characters are a lot better. And I think it's obviously more streamlined in terms of like of length and pace and all that. I think obviously I feel like this one like really goes pretty fucked up too, but in a good way. Not like that shitty second one, which I will not mention, but I just had to mention it there really quick. But yeah, like that scene when Pluto and Lizard attack the RV is far more like it is. They do the visuals, and it is very hard hitting. Like it's sad to watch, man. Like I feel like that was the why I think it does it better. Like, and I understand the original came out in 1977. This comes out in 2006. So this would be a almost 20-year gap, or 30-year gap actually. Sorry, 30-year gap. So it's like, okay, so I understand. I'm not gonna fault the visuals, but I just think the pacing, the story, I just think this one does it better. I think the characters are far more. You get more into them to where you do feel bad when they get killed, or what happens to what happens to them. Like, yeah, I'll admit it's one of those movies. Yeah, if you don't like uber gore, you're probably not gonna like it. It's definitely very gory, and like I said, fucked up visuals. Like you have rape scenes, you have some like the kills aren't just like quick. You know, they're pretty violent. So I'll admit it doesn't hold back in that sense, but I do think it's a good one. It personally, I think it took the concept of what the original was trying to do, um, like what the original was trying to do, and I just think it helped the original. I'm not gonna say the original is horrible, but it definitely I feel like it wasn't as good at telling that story like this one did. It's kind of how I look at like My Bloody Valentine, the remake versus the original. I think the remake tells it better. I just, so, we'll see. But yeah, I have to definitely put this one on the list because this one I remember like the visuals. So yeah, this one is kind of a little horror heavy. I feel like that was like the only real genre this year. Mine is my number one, and like Fearless. A lot of them are horror. It's just horror was like the only really genre of that year was kind of doing good. Everything else kind of sucked. Like obviously superheroes sucked that year because that was Superman Returns, X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Like you had a lot of that shit, you know. But anyway, we're on number 5 now. My number 5, we're in my top 5. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Actually, no. My number 4 isn't horror. I just remembered. But it's still lead very horror heavy. But yeah, my number 5 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. I remember watching this one not long after I had seen the remake, and I had kind of forgot about it. Then I rewatched it when I reviewed it for my channel, and I gotta say, man, it is really good. Arlie Ermy back. Yeah, it is a prequel. It basically sets up it leads up to what happens in the new one. Like we see Leatherface get born, we kind of see him as a kid, and then obviously it kind of jumps a little bit ahead, and then we kind of get a traditional Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in the end. It's not as strong, like I'll say, as like the remake, the 2003 movie, but I did like this one. I thought Leatherface was still hard hitting. Arlie Ermy, as Charlie Hewitt is so good. I loved him in this. I thought he still brought it, even though this wasn't necessarily a regular Texas Chainsaw movie. he still brought it, and I love, and actually, I've always kind of liked the concept of when the killer wins. I always felt that that's kind of interesting to kind of change it up and not, oh, there's no final girl, nobody survives in that movie. Granted, it makes sense because this is supposed to be a prequel, right, to the 2003 movie, but overall, like, I think the kills were still there. I thought it was a solid prequel, and it didn't spend too long on like the prequel stuff, like some do. Like, oh, we gotta spend forever on his childhood. I felt like this one was like the right amount, with him and his past, and then we kind of jump ahead to where it's more of a regular Texas Chainsaw, where he's starting to he picks off people, and yeah. So overall, really love it. It's definitely one of my favorites. I think it's one of the few good Texas movies. I think Texas Chainsaw is sad as a franchise. That could actually be a video too. Is how I'd fix Texas Chainsaw. I don't know if I've done that, but like, I just think, because that's one of those franchises I just think is just ruined. Too many bad entries, I think. But that's just a little side rant. But it's like, it really has, because there's only 4 good movies. The original, I think the second one is pretty fun. The 2003 movie is probably the best one. I'm at that point where I'll straight up say it. I think the 2003 one is probably the best one of them all in terms of filmmaking. And then this one. And then everything else is shit, pretty much. Sucks about that franchise. So be talking about that maybe at some point. I also kind of want to do that with how I'd fix a franchise. I think it's almost borderline unfixable. Actually, you know what? That might be my video on Saturday, and then I'll do that Miles rant on like Sunday, maybe. On Saturday, I'll do a rant on not a rant, but a fixing. I haven't done one of those in a while. I'm gonna try to fix the Jeepers Creepers franchise, which is that's gonna be a task, considering how, my opinion, I think it's dead. It is gonna be kind of hard to revive it. 3, you could have come back from, but Reborn, that's going to be kind of a hard one to come back from. But I'm going to try to find a way. So anyway, that's a side point. But yeah, that's my number 5, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. I think it's a really good one. I definitely recommend it. It's, you can watch you want to watch this one first and maybe watch the 2003 one after. In terms of if you want to watch it in like timeline order. You can watch it in release order too. It works. Because towards the end, it does become like another movie. My number 4, one of the few not horror choices, Rocky Balboa. To me, I remember when this came out. I unfortunately didn't get to see it in theaters. I think I didn't even know it was out at the time. I just saw, wait, there's a Rocky 6. And yeah, it's a good one. It's not as, like, obviously it's not going to have all the glitz and glamour like Rocky 4 had, but it was a good, like, because I know a lot of people there's people out there who don't like the new Creed movies, so you can this kind of works as the last Rocky movie. Rocky has his last fight. Like I said, the only real weak thing in the movie is the boxer he has to fight. I'm trying to find his name. Dixon. Mason Dixon. I didn't really care for him. I'm not saying he needed to be Drago, but I just felt like he needed a little bit more character. He just felt like generic, like, he probably was an actual boxer that they actually got for the role. And I guess that works. And I like the added ESPN stuff. I thought that made it feel real. And for me, this movie gave, in my opinion, one of the best Rocky monologues when he talks about, like, that speech he gives to his son about taking the hits. And how, like, that scene, I think, in general, just in reality, is just a good scene you can just use for real life. It's such a good motivational scene. And just, when people say Stallone can't act, you show them this scene. Obviously, his scene in First Blood, or really any of the scenes in Rocky, but this is a good one. I feel you could show them, that was such a good scene. I think the fight itself is good. It works as the last Rocky movie. If you don't like the Creed, I'm fine with it. I still look at it as like the last Rocky movie, and then the Creed movies Rocky's just involved in. And to me, the only real Creed ones I consider really canon are 1 and 2. I didn't hate 3, but 3 to me, I've said in my review, it felt like just generic boxing movie. When you take Stallone out of it, I'm sorry, it does just feel like generic boxing movie. Well made, but it didn't have that heart like the other two did, and I think that's ultimately Stallone. And I think even just for a scene, anyway, that's a side point. But this is a good movie. I think this is a good one. Stallone brings it as all. I mean, he still looks good too, and when he does the fight scene. So yeah, this had to be on my list. Number 2, my number 3 is Underworld Evolution, or the second Underworld movie. To me, this one was great. I think the first one's still a better movie, but I love how much this one explored the world more. Like, it expanded the world. You know, we learn about Michael and Marcus, who's pretty much the villain of the film. I thought that was good. I thought the action was good. We learned more about the lore, about the werewolves, and more about the war. You know, we kind of get a look into that, and I've always loved the aesthetic of these movies, and I thought this one continues it. First one is, like I said, it's still a better film, but I do like this one, I think. And you know, we meet Alexander, we meet I had fun reviewing them. Like, I think it was like last year I reviewed them, but yeah, this one was a good one. I really love this one. The action, the gore, the scene where she fights Marcus in the end is great. The designs, I've always loved the designs of the werewolves and even the vampires. I thought the vampires kind of have a cool look. Like, they look somewhat human, but they look obviously still somewhat monstrous. Celine's a great character, but according to, you know, weirdos, there weren't strong women before Captain Marvel. So yeah, but yeah, that's my number 3. I remember this one I actually did see in theaters. I remember being pretty hyped for it because I saw the first one, so it was kind of cool that this got a sequel. And yeah, just the crazy. It was yeah. I mean, granted, this was 2006. I was about 10. Yeah, 10-year-old probably watching that in theaters probably not good, but yeah, fuck it. But yeah, my number 2 is Casino Royale. This had to be on my list. I've said it. I had my problems with like some of the fight scenes where it was too like Borny, and I'm thinking, thankfully, some of the later ones they tone that back. But this one still has a great Bond tone. I thought, fucking great story, like a good Bond revival. Daniel Craig was a pretty good Bond. I thought in this one they let him show it, and Mads Mikkelsen he's one of the best Bond villains in my opinion. Le Chiffre is such a good villain. That scene where he's torturing, but I'll be honest, I remember watching that in theaters and just being like, wow, they didn't hold back. And the tone, I love the ending. Like Eva Green, as Vesper Lind is one of my favorite, like, she's one of my favorite Bond girls. I think she had a great character arc. You know, her death was pretty sad, and obviously this is what set it up. And I just love like the new setup that this one was doing. But you still have that classic Bondisms. I love the scenes in pretty much in any of them in the casino are like some of my favorite shit in the movie, because that was when they let Craig just be Bond, and that's what ultimately, to me, like, talking Daniel Craig's Bond really quick. I think overall, I think his Bond is good. Take out Quantum of Solace, that was shit. And obviously take out fucking No Time to Die. I think he's had good movies. I really like Skyfall. I liked Spectre. I didn't love it, but I liked it. But definitely love Skyfall. Skyfall was like, okay, this is how you fucking do it. Where you have like that classic Bond feel, but in a, you know, this was like, that was like 2012. I mean, they were still able to do that in modern times. I felt like he's largely, it was just some of those other movies, they didn't let him be that charismatic character. They try to make him generic action dude, and that's not like, especially in Quantum of Solace. That's one of my biggest issues with that movie. Is like they didn't even let him have fun with the character. Bond's supposed to have a little bit of fun when he's, he's not just generic action guy who's serious. That's not Bond. And that's what they were trying to do. Like, almost kind of making him like Jason Bourne. But that works with his character because that's how his character was spawned. And, it makes sense with that character. It doesn't work with Bond. So I'm happy they toned that back. So overall, I think, especially in Casino Royale, I thought he really, especially in the end, that ending scene is so fucking great. And it was cool that they got M back, Judi Dench back as M. I thought it was cool to continue with her, So, but my number one, y'all know, 300. 300 to me, and I said this yesterday, it's not supposed to be a historical accurate. It was more based off the graphic novel. That was actually what the movie was actually based off of. I think a lot of people don't know that. I don't know if they don't know that. They think, oh, Zach was like, let's just adapt what actually happened. No, that was never. 300 was never that. It was like a obviously an epic, it's just historical action, and it was great. It was more based off, like I said, it's a fictionized retelling of 300 in that comic. That's even what the graphic novel was. So Zach adapted that as a movie. I think a lot of people don't fucking know that. It's weird. So people who are like, oh, it's not historically accurate. But anyway, 300 was just, I remember seeing this in theaters and just being wowed. I mean, so technically I saw it in 2007, but it's listed as a 2006 movie. But it was a crazy, I remember that movie just being like wow. Like, the actors they got for it, like, you have Michael Fassbender, fucking David Wenham as the narrator, who, you may recognize him from Lord of the Rings. So they got like a lot of good actors for it. The action, the score. Xerxes was a great feel. Like, when his entrance was just awesome, and the aesthetic. I remember watching that the first time and just being like, holy shit, dude. Lena Headey as Queen Gorgo is great. Oh yeah, strong women didn't exist, and she stabbed a dude, but she wasn't like fighty character. She was a strong wife who supported her husband, and then obviously Gerard Butler as Leonidas is just iconic. That this is Sparta. That scene is so, even to this day, it's memed, and to the point where, like, anytime I see someone like basically get kicked, especially like specifically like that what Leonidas did, I'm gonna do that. It's just, that's how iconic this movie is. The action scenes, the ending is pretty sad too, but then it's almost like you have a little bit of a hopeful ending too, with like when you learn there's even more Spartans ready for war. So it was a great movie. It is an experience. I think definitely you should watch it once. Even if you're a little bit squeamish on violence, it's one of those I feel like you gotta watch once. Just to experience it. Just for the cinematography. And it's great storytelling. Like, it has a balance of, you have a lot of dialogue scenes, but it has a lot of action too. So, this had to be my favorite of the year. I mean, this definitely, if this wasn't considered 2006, Casino Royale would have probably been number one. But yeah. Anyway, guys, 2007. Hopefully there'll be a bit more. I mean, there is like Rush Hour 3. You have the Simpsons movie. The first Transformers movie, or Bayformers as I call it. Which is actually a pretty good movie. I don't know if I'd put that number one, but it'd at least be like maybe 4. Because that was good. I'm going to say it, at least at the time, I remember that being an experience. I had to say it. So I almost have to put it there in what I've done just for that. But even like, you have to get horror. Like Trick or Treat was 2007. That actually probably be like my number 2 or 3. I know some people don't like it, but Rob Zombie's Halloween was that year. 30 Days at Night. There was some good stuff in 2007 now that I'm thinking about it. So hopefully I could come up with more than 8. 2006, like I said, was a little bit on the weaker side. But tomorrow, I'm going to be reviewing X-Men Origins Wolverine. And yeah, Baraka-Pool is terrible. But and a lot of the CGI is absolute shit. But I do think the stuff when they focus on like Wolverine and Victor, I actually do think is good. I think Lee Schreiber played a really good Sabretooth. I just, if the movie leaned more into that and not that, and I also hate the fake out in the end with his wife who you thought she was dead, but it was a fake out. It was so stupid. It was a good story. Like Sabretooth killed his wife or soon to be wife, and then they just decided to not do it. It's the fake out so she could have her sister be Emma Frost. You could have still just had Emma Frost there. You didn't need her to be her sister for that. That was lame. I remember being kind of disappointed even at the time for that. But anyway, I'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, guys. I'm seeing a lot of people enjoy my Cruel Jaws review. I might start doing a little bit more movies like that, finding some just really bad, either Jaws ripoff. I'll even see if I can find some Jurassic Park ones, some like really bad ones, some like really dumb bad movies. I kind of want to get back into doing those. So maybe once a week I'll try to, or every other week. I don't know how I'll do it yet, but I'll try to find something. But yeah. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all tomorrow. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all tomorrow.